दुर्भाग्यवश मेरे देश में हर इंसान अहिंसा के प्रति इतना वचनबद्ध नहीं है।
Say what?
I'm certainly not the first YouTuber to talk about these two depictions of Mahatma Gandhi, but I hope I'm the first squid to compare them side by side like this. In the computer games Sid Meier's Civilizations 1 through 6 plus spin-offs, the player chooses a nation and becomes an immortal cultural icon, leading that nation since prehistory. If you choose the United States of America, you might be Abraham Lincoln from the beginning of time until the game ends in the distant future. Abraham Lincoln never really lived in the right era to meet Mahatma Gandhi, but in the game Civilization, they can trade bananas or start a war. Gandhi tends to be a bit nuclear. Why? Well, it's a reference to the first Civilization game. But why was Gandhi so nuclear in the first game? According to the Civilization fan wiki, Sid Meier himself denies this explanation, but it's a popular rumor anyway. It's said in the first Civilization game, Gandhi's artificial intelligence had the lowest possible interest in nukes. So if anything decreased his interest in nukes further, there'd be an integer underflow error, and Gandhi would suddenly become maximally nuke-happy. The real Mahatma Gandhi didn't nuke Abraham Lincoln. I think someone would have written that down. But real cultural icons are also fictional characters, which can go their own directions. Mahatma Gandhi promoted nonviolence to win India's independence from Britain. Mahatma Gandhi spoke against the caste system, ate only vegetarian, and used long fasts to raise political awareness. Mahatma Gandhi was accused of sexual and psychological abuse, which isn't quite as romantic, is it? But Mahatma Gandhi did not nuke Abraham Lincoln. And yet, the image is unforgettable, striking enough to influence every subsequent Civilization game. So, clone high.
Way back in the 1980s, secret government employees dug up famous guys and ladies and made them using genetic copies. Now they're clones of sexy teens. Now they're gonna make it if they try.
There's a high school full of teen genetic copies of cultural icons from across world history. Lincoln and Gandhi are besties.
I spent all summer on my high fives and my finger snaps.
Cleopatra is dating John F. Kennedy.
Oh, thank you, JFK. Thank you for your courage.
Can we make out now?
Totally.
And Genghis Khan is doing his best.
When the clerk asks if you're over 21, say yes. Got it?
You over 21?
Okay, he used a very tricky line of questioning.
Lincoln, Cleopatra, JFK, and Joan of Arc form a love quadrilateral.
That no good cheating tramp! Hey, get off my dinghy! Not you.
Gandhi goes to prom with Marie Curie. Her DNA wasn't quite right after death by radiation.
I can't wait for some serious dry humping.
Yeah. Dry what?
You know, like this. But with your clothes on.
Oh, and their principal is an evil scientist with a robo-butler.
There's growing concern among the secret board of shadowy figures that you may be completely insane.
Blasphemy!
The characters rarely embrace their identities as these cultural icons. Gandhi is not Gandhi.
What you doing in here, buddy? Making a Lincoln log? Heyo! What's up, Fitzy baby? Party at your place on Friday, right?
Abraham Lincoln is not Abraham Lincoln.
I will ride this windsurf board, which is connected by a bungee cord, to this monster truck, which my friend Gandhi will drive back and forth on this half-pipe. Just like the real Abe Lincoln would have done, had he the tools to do so.
Even if he does try to honor Honest Abe.
You
You know what you have to do.
You're right.
JFK is not JF... Well, actually,
So, are you drunk enough yet to sleep with me? Answer the question!
Cleopatra embraces her identity in a misguided, egocentric way.
Abe, even though we're going out, you still have to ask me to prom, and my invite has to be perfect in every way. Because, and this may have slipped your mind, I'm Cleopatra!
The point is, the characters usually interact like sitcom archetypes, which might have nothing to do with the actual, factual, historical figures we've read about. It wouldn't be too hard to rewrite the show with all original characters. We might like to watch the real Gandhi meet the real Lincoln, so we could see where they agreed and where they didn't. But we don't get to watch that. Serious historians could make their own educational documentary version of Clone High, like the show Meeting Minds. But those characters still wouldn't be speaking as Gandhi and Lincoln. They'd be convenient hand puppets for presenting corpse ideologies. America is going through a weird time. In weird times, Americans ask what the Founding Fathers would do, and every American has a different answer, which usually happens to corroborate their own opinions. A judge might call themselves a literal constitutionalist, but if interpreting the Constitution objectively was actually possible, we wouldn't need judges at all, would we? Effectively, a person's own conceptualization of history is their own private Clone High, or a mental game of civilization, through which cultural icons continue interacting with our present day from beyond the grave. No wonder people value cultural icons. These icons live on in the mind. Folks in India weren't happy with Gandhi in Clone High. He's wacky, over-energetic, and he can't read a room, sort of a Jar Jar Binks type. I think it's funny. The fact he's a clone of Mahatma Gandhi doubles the value of every slapstick gag. Viewers in India didn't see it that way, and they held a hunger strike outside MTV India until MTV canceled Clone High. MTV says they're planning a second season, though, so maybe Jar Jar Gandhi will return. Maybe the hunger strikes will begin again too. Or maybe Clone Gandhi can be accepted like civilization's nuclear Gandhi. He hasn't raised such an outcry even though he might nuke Abe Lincoln. Likewise, the historical figure Jesus Christ is basically allowed to show up anywhere on Earth as basically any race, even on grilled cheese toast and stuff. Christ's words are reinterpreted again and again, and although biblical reinterpretations are quite contentious, that contention is Christianity's history. Whether you think he was literally resurrected or not, Christ's story is ongoing. He hasn't nuked Abe Lincoln yet, though.
Be careful with that nail gun, Jesus.
I'm shifting gears a bit, but the Western Schism has been on my mind. The Pope is supposed to be the one living face of Catholicism, but for about 40 years there were multiple popes at once. Wikipedia has this great timeline. When Gregory IX died in 1378, the cardinals in Rome elected a new pope, Urban VI. Then the cardinals ran away to elect the real pope, Clement VII, because Rome had been very mean to them. Both the popes excommunicated each other, and two parallel Catholicisms ran for generations. Some chuckleheads in Pisa thought they'd fixed this by electing the real pope, Alexander V, but suddenly there were three popes, and each pope excommunicated the other two. In 1417, it was agreed that all the popes would retire, or if they wouldn't retire, then they'd be ignored, because now the pope was Martin V, and no one must ever mention this again. This was a period of cultural multiple personality disorder. I guess I'm thinking about all this because it's all I do here at Thinkster, but I'm also sure there have been multiple USAs for at least a few hundred years or so. Sometimes that multiple personality disorder is obvious in Civil War. It's possible there is an upcoming era of two Americas. Two groups will claim to have the real president, and the other is an imposter. Is this gonna be like having a harmless little fetal twin? Or is this gonna be like two sharks eating each other in the womb? Watch Clone High. Support me on Patreon. Bye-bye.